Previously on Offhand Disney.
But did you know that the normal Jungle Cruise at both Disneyland and Walt Disney World ties back into the Society? There's also a water slide at Typhoon Lagoon that ties back into this massive story that Walt Disney Imagineering is trying to tell. There's even a bar/lounge, I guess, at Disney Springs in Orlando that ties back into the Society. And all of this I will explain in part 3.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
So, like I said, this is the last episode of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers series I've been doing. Disney's super secret Society of Explorers and Adventurers that they've been planting hints toward in their attractions and restaurants recently. And who knows, with a Jungle Cruise movie coming out in the future, we may even see the Society brought to the big screen in some way. This third and final episode of the Society series will have to do with 3 different set pieces. Jock Lindsey's Hangar Bar in Disney Springs, Misadventure Falls at Typhoon Lagoon, and the Jungle Cruise at both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. I may even reveal a very famous member of the Society you've never even known about. So after traveling the entire world from Hong Kong to Tokyo back to America, I am about to pull back the curtain on Disney's most elusive group of people, the ones who have been pulling the strings behind the scenes this entire time. This is part 3 of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers series, Exploration and Excavation. We'll begin our hunt at Typhoon Lagoon at Walt Disney World in Florida. One of Walt Disney World's 2 theme parks, the story behind this water park is a little winded. For as long as anyone could remember, the quaint thatched roof village had been nestled along the shores of the sparkling lagoon, in the shadows of a great volcanic mountain. Then came the 20th century with its cruise ships and tourists and Placid Palms Resort, a very special place for very lucky vacationers. The Great Storm, however, changed everything. A furious, unrelenting typhoon catching a small fleet of ships by surprise and tossing them about like toy boats for one terrifying hour. But in the storm's wake was left a remarkable scene. The Placid Palms Resort was now the Leaning Palms, almost ready to topple over at any moment. A small harbor had been cut off from the sea, trapping an overturned boat and thousands of colorful fish, and maybe even a few sharks. Nothing, however, topped the sight of the shrimp boat Miss Tilly impaled precariously on the peak of a giant volcanic mountain. To this day, the mountain tries vainly to dislodge its unwelcome burden with an enormous geyser of water every half hour. The once sleepy Placid Palms Resort had been turned into Typhoon Lagoon, and that is where our story begins. On August 2nd, 2016, Disney announced a 2-acre expansion to Typhoon Lagoon. The story of the expansion would be centered around Mary Oceaneer, a character who was created for the Disney Cruise Line, and it would be the first Society of Explorers and Adventurers attraction, not including additions to existing attractions, to debut in an American Disney theme park. It would also be the very first water park attraction to incorporate an animatronic figure in the form of Duncan, who was Mary Oceaneer's parrot. Now, as I said earlier, Captain Mary Oceaneer is the main character of this attraction, and yes, that's her real name. She is described as a seafaring treasure hunter whose hull was caught in a rogue typhoon and scattered across this tropical island paradise years ago. I can only assume the tropical island paradise is Typhoon Lagoon because there is a stunning lack of living tikis on this attraction. Misadventure Falls is themed as a shipwreck site of the MS Salty 4, Mary's ship. Cargo and equipment are scattered around the queue, including crates, Oceaneer's diving bells, frames containing a map of Blustery Bay, Typhoon Lagoon's greater area, and a magazine cover featuring Mary and Duncan. Mary is also known within the Disney fandom for her ship, the RV Oceaneer Lab. The Oceaneer Lab served as a floating base for Mary's deep-sea diving excursions and treasure hunting expeditions. And just in case you guys were wondering, the Oceaneer Lab is a kids club area aboard the Disney Magic and Disney Wonder cruise ships. And within the Oceaneer's Lab, you can find references to Henry Mystic and Harrison Hightower, other members of the Society. Now that brings the grand total of members of the Society that we've talked about so far up to 7. 2 of them are no longer with us, but the rest of them seem to be biding their time at their own respective attractions, like Misadventure Falls or Mystic Manor. But what if I told you there is yet another restaurant that has to do with the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, but it's here in the United States, specifically at Walt Disney World in Disney Springs. This is the story of Jock Lindsey's Hangar Bar. While helping a friend search for the Fountain of Youth, Jock, Lindsey, and his associate traveled through Florida on their quest, including a stop at St. Augustine's Fountain of Youth roadside attraction. They didn't really seem to find this roadside attraction funny, so they kept moving. At some point, Jock Lindsey flew over the crystal clear waters of Disney Springs, and he found them so beautiful that he decided to settle down and eventually build a home there. Jock Lindsey would invite guests to his wonderful home at Disney Springs and serve them amazing exotic beverages and foods he found along his journeys. Eventually, his home became known as Jock Lindsey's Hangar Bar. Lindsey also happened to be part of the society, and would often invite other members of the society over to his brand new hangar bar to show them all of his wonderful treasures he'd collected. Jock Lindsey was one of the kinder and more well-known members of the society, but we will come back to the story of Jock Lindsey and his hangar bar, and especially his associate, later on. Now let's move on to perhaps the final attraction that references the society, the Jungle Cruise. When Jungle Cruise skippers first mentioned the character Albert Falls, it was part of a joke. The front side of water was called Schweitzer Falls, and it was named after the famous scientist Albert Falls. When the Jungle Cruise's backstory was expanded in 2015 for the construction of the Skipper Canteen restaurant in Adventureland at Disney World, it was decided that he would be turned into an actual character and the Jungle Navigation Company's founder. The Jungle Navigation Company, or the JNC, being the company that brings you on all of these wonderful tours of the jungles around the world. Dr. Albert Falls was also a member of the society. Dr. Albert was a scientist and explorer known for his ability to navigate the remote waters of the rivers of the world and his sense of humor. His most notable discovery, Schweitzer Falls, and of course the backside of water, was discovered on August 12th of 1891. The headquarters of the JNC would also serve as his home, where he would entertain members of the society in a hidden meeting room located in his library. Which, side note, you can actually eat in the Society of Explorers and Adventurers room at the Skipper Canteen at the Magic Kingdom. So does that mean we are also members of the society? When his granddaughter Alberta turned 8, she was sent to live with him. When Albert unfortunately passed away, Alberta would become the new president of the JNC and would start the very first Jungle Cruise tours in 1931. More importantly though, in this sea room at the Skipper Canteen, there are references to other sea members and other sea adventures that we don't know a whole lot about. So, maybe a research trip out to Orlando is due within the next couple months here. But also keep in mind that this story is canon for both the Disneyland and Walt Disney World versions of the Jungle Cruise. Just know that the Disneyland version doesn't feature a Skipper Canteen restaurant. But never fear, because there is a portrait of members of the society on display at the new Bengal Barbecue seating area. So yes, Walt Disney's original Magic Kingdom does have some ties to the society. But let's stop and go back a second. Didn't you guys remember me talking about Jock Lindsey and his special associate? The two of them traveled throughout Florida for many years looking for the fabled Fountain of Youth. His associate was a very famous college professor who went by the name of Henry Jones Jr. That's right, everyone, not only is Indiana Jones part of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers story, but he is also himself a member of the society. As some of you may have keenly spotted in the last episode, Professor Reed, the evil member of the society, responsible for stealing the Emerald Trinity, was a rival of Indiana Jones. And it was Indiana Jones himself who kicked Professor Reed out of the society. That means we've had an attraction referencing the Society of Explorers and Adventurers at Disneyland since 1995, the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. But the theory crafting doesn't stop there, because if Indiana Jones is canon within the park's storylines of the society, that means that the Indiana Jones movies are canon within the massive overarching story of the Disney parks. Within the same universe as the Indiana Jones movies, there is a Hatbox Ghost, there's a Haunted Mansion, there's a Jack Sparrow, and there are Pirates of the Caribbean. There are enchanted singing tikis and Space Station 77 floating out there somewhere in orbit in the future. And if there's even one reference to the society in the upcoming Jungle Cruise movie, then that would mean that those two movies, Indiana Jones and The Jungle Cruise, happen within the same universe. And all of this would mean Disney is crafting a cinematic and parks universe that would be intertwined story-wise, something that has never been done before and something that I eagerly await. So what about you guys? What do you think of this society turned theory video? Do you think I have a point, or am I just reaching? I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. So just remember, whether you're in Frontierland, Fantasyland, New Orleans Square, or Adventureland, keep an eye open because there might be a massive story that's being told that you might not know even exists. One that may be on the big screen in just a few years. Hello everybody, thank you so much for watching the third and final episode of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers kind of documentary expose I've been crafting. If you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel out a lot, and I gotta say thank you for over 100,000 subscribers. We're really growing fast, and it's all thanks to you guys, so thank you. If you want to show your Jean Lafitte or offhand Disney pride within the parks themselves, there is a link to my Spreadshirt shop down below. I'm currently creating a brand new website to sell these shirts on, but in the meantime, even just buying on Spreadshirt, it really helps support the channel. Also, remember that you can donate on Patreon. Patrons get early access to episode audio. That was very hard to say. So if you find any of that interesting, there will be links in the description. Also, there are links to the Offhand Disney Discord and subreddit there too, in case you want to discuss the channel or just some fun things you may have heard about the Disney parks. Also, there's a Twitter where I'm constantly spouting unpopular Disney opinions all the time, so be sure to follow me over there at Offhand Disney. As always, everybody, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little series, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.